Cool.
or something else involved that so it makes it kind of cool. So let's see, we are live. Okay, we are joined. Okay, so we're having a little bit of an echo. I'm gonna mute you while I talk, and then when you talk, I'll mute myself. We're joined live this hour by Liliflor Ramirez. This is very, very exciting. She's an artist. She's a workshop leader, community organizer, activist. I mean, just incredible. She's an incredible human being over out there operating on the east side and Boyle Heights specifically. So really, really excited. This is really, really going to be a great hour. And so Liliflor, let's just get started. How did you get involved in the wide world of arts?
Well, really, it started when I was a kid. I guess when I was little, I've always drawn, and I always like to make art. I think I was one of the show off little kids. Like how good I did my grapes. My outlines and stuff like that. I was one of those kindergartners. I remember that was one of the first coloring that I did, and then my first painting was a paint by number in the 3rd grade and Long Avenue School, and I gave my painting, dog painting, to my teacher, and then I just loved it, since I can remember. And I remember really being at awe when I used to come to East LA because I lived in Inglewood and also in South Central LA. And so coming to the east side was always like, ooh, I'm going to the east side, and then when we used to come to the East LA parade with my mom and my family by Obregon Park, and then walking all the way up Brooklyn back in the day, and now Cesar Chavez, and looking at the Paz Boteo murals and all the murals that were there, and it was just like, I remember being in the corner of Cesar Chavez, and it's something that I really remember since I was a kid, and being just looking at the Paz Boteo like mural, and I was just kind of like with my mouth open, like, what's all this color, and I was like 5 years old, and I remember that distinctly, like a memory, and seeing my mom taking pictures with the homeboys. They wanted my mom. They was just so funny. Anyway, so it was really cool. And then, of course, all the murals throughout Los Angeles and downtown, where you have the Victor's Clothing, where you have Kent Twitchell's murals, and just being influenced by what I've seen in the city. And also, definitely a big one was for me, and a time change was in when I moved back from the suburb. Well, we moved to the suburbs for like 4 years. We tried to live there, and we came back. We went back to Mid-City LA, and I remember just riding the bus, and that's where the graffiti tagging and good old Chaka and the graffiti crews, and just rolling around the RTD, the rough, tough, and dirty, and being influenced by graffiti and writing poetry, and having my black book, and my scribe, and doing not so what's called it, not so legal things. And then, of course, the hip hop was an influence at that time for me. That was like 1984, 1985. That was riding the bus from Mid City to Bell Gardens, because my mom wasn't gonna let me go to manual arts, and I didn't want to go to no private school, because I told my mom, don't waste your money. And so I did. It took me about an hour and a half, 2 hours to get there. And within that time frame to school and back, I had a lot of time to read, do my homework, and at the same time, do some art, some public art. And that's how I started. And then eventually, after high school, it hit me hard, and I wanted to go into the arts. And of course, I always hung out with the artists, with the band members, the thrash metal drummers from the band, and then I hung out with the actors and the dancers and the singers, of course, always within the artists, and of course they always knew I was coming from South Central, and I looked very different. I looked very hip hop, I had my Cortez, my cords, I got them tailored at Sloss and Swap Meet, and used to have, my gold rings, I had a salt and pepper haircut, I look different. And I used to go to school, and I was actually did really well in my academics. And it gave me time to do that. And so, I was back and forth from two communities, from the extremes to the suburbs to the extremes of being in a neighborhood, So my upbringing was very influenced from the city, going around the city in different areas and exploring. And different scenes as well. Like I wasn't a cha-cha, and I wasn't necessarily punk rock, but I think I was very eclectic, because you would see me in a punk show, or next time you see me in a hip hop show, or another time you see me in a banda gig, so that's like really, I grew up like that. I was very diverse, and I think because my mom was very open-minded like that, even though she was bien Mexicana, I think that's where definitely, I know that's where my influence comes from, my artistic influence. And of course, after high school, I took my first Latin American studies class from a definitely awesome, amazing teacher at Compton Community College. I actually went to LACC, then I went to Compton Community College, and had an amazing maestro that taught me Latin American studies and really taught me the true history of the United States. And then that's when I was like, what the fuck? I've been lied to. What the fuck is going on? What the fuck? What the fuck? So, and then he's like, okay, we're gonna study some John Trudell. I'm like, who's John Trudell? Okay, all right, we're gonna read his poetry. In the beginning of class, he would put on John Trudell, he put some Bob Dylan, and then we have to break down the poetry, the songs, and he tell us what we think about it, right? And then he'd break down the true history of Latin America, and I was like, oh shit, the communism that they told me about in school was a total farce. Okay. And then I started like asking questions and was really interested in history. And that's when I started reading. My first poetry that I read was Soy Joaquin. Remember that? Soy Joaquin. I was like, oh my God, this totally hits home. And then I started just really in the venture. And then that's when he said, you get extra credit if you listen to this radio station called KPFK. And I was like, what's fucking KPFK? And then I was like, I'll take the extra credit. And so then he's like, or you can read the Carlos Castañeda books. And he put a list of books, right? And then I was like, I read them all. I was like, oh my God, I was so hungry for knowledge, right? And so I started going into community organizing. That's when I started doing that. And I went first with the UFW, volunteered, they don't even know who I am, but I did those kind of things. I found out like the Mecha is really a thing, because in high school, we just fucking went to the snow and we chit-chatted during lunch. It wasn't really anything, we weren't doing any political activism. It was just, time to gather, have pizza or whatever. And then I was really interested in politics, and I just was immersed in that. And then the Zapatista movement, I was an organizer here in LA in the early 90s and did a lot of grassroots organizing with that. And then of course I was involved with the occupation of the Peace and Justice Center in downtown LA. We occupied the building. I don't know if you know about that place or heard about it. And then that's definitely where my first political activism, it was basically activism 101 for me. I was just thrown in the trenches, and then I just did it, gave up everything, gave up my home in a matter of a second decision. And with other 5 people, we occupied the building. That's Will Dog from Ozomatli, Mercedes, Carmelo, myself, Robert, and Mercedes' brother, David. It was 6 of us, actually. And so we occupied the building, and we said we had a shitload of people behind us, and it was only 6 of us. And then that's when we faxed people. We told KPFK, we're occupying the building. And then everybody started coming. That's how I started meeting everyone from all kinds of organizations coming through. We gave them, offices. We did conferences. Kiwa was there. Chila. I mean, a number of people came through. Ramona, Africa, you name it. We had people there coming from all over LA and all over the country and all over the world. And also, I think there's an interview archive with Amy Goodman, because he talked about the occupation. And so that was my real political my push into political organizing and actually doing it, And so after that, and during that time I was always, you know, painting, drawing, and that kind of thing. And that's when I did my first paintings, and I did my first exhibit at the William Photography Center in right there off of MacArthur Park, right there by the Fidel Kahlo Theater. I sold most of all my paintings, and then I just didn't stop. And then the next thing you know, I was doing screen printing at Self Graphics in '97, and then I just, here I am today. That's it.
There you go. That's it. So, you know, it's interesting before. I mean, there's so much to talk about in that little present and that 10 minutes right there. But one of the things I want to talk about. You talked about, you know, being on the bus and watching. Get the echo here. Oh, you talked about being on the bus and watching and seeing the murals pass by and what a profound influence that had on you. And I remember before the outbreak, before the pandemic, there was a lot of these articles coming on, these mainstream articles, on these big publications like the New York Times, Forbes, etc. The Mexican muralist movement may have been the most important artistic movement of the 20th century, which to me seems obvious unless you're a racist, right? I mean, like the idea of like paint your history on a wall really appealed to the whole world. So can you speak a little bit to the importance of muralism and what it meant to not just your work, but art in general?
Definitely muralism has existed even before. I mean, I'm talking our ancestors from Bunampak, you know, the Bunampak murals, the Tlamantinis, you know, there were the painters and the scribes, you know, that did the mokslis, the sacred books, you know. And so for me, the importance definitely is significant, not only relevant to the times and doing the storytelling of our times, but it goes way back. And with being that we are in the Americas, definitely recognition is long overdue, and it still is, because we're still in an institutionalized art, where art is also institutionalized, right? And only a few get to be shown or exhibited, right? In the art world, per se. Like, for instance, recently somebody posted a call out for a modern realist painter, and I got tagged on it or whatever. And I looked at the previous winners, and they're all white women. There was probably 2 women of color. One was Asian, but she was like with the American last name, really dyed blonde hair. And then the other one, she was a very light-skinned black woman, which I had nothing against that, but you know what I mean? I really looked at, I said, okay, well, let me see and my instinct told me, do I have a chance for this? Probably not. And so why waste my time? So I didn't even bother, you know, I don't even bother. But it's really when we look at art right now, and muralism too, there's that divide, right, of like who decides what's important and relevant, you know. But I think for us, we decided what it was important, like in the 1960s and early 70s, when during the Chicano moratorium, or around that time, with ASCO and different well-known muralists like Woody Heron and Carlos, and different artists that were out there, Ernesto, that were painting the walls of the projects, right? In East LA and all over East LA, you saw it, right? Paul Boteo, they were getting down, you know, they were just like, fuck it, no permits, we're gonna do this. And so definitely it's very important to tell our own stories, even from the time, like you said, I was influenced since I was a kid, and I reflected who I was, and that resonated with me. And so I think it's important, because the youth of today, or people of today, get to see that as well. So I don't know if I answered that, but yeah, so it's definitely important. Okay, I can't hear you. Put on, change it.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you. The murals existing in these times before, you know, like what we call the modern period or whatever. But definitely in the modern period, like, you know, this idea of this renaissance of like paint your history on a wall and do it in the modern city, it definitely started in Mexico, and it's really it's obscene when you think about it. It goes from Mexico, it comes to the United States with people of Mexican heritage, and, you know, real kind of natural pipeline, or natural, you know, line, you know, trail or something, whatever you want to call it. So it comes in a real natural line, and Scaros comes here, and then the Chicanos take it up, and that it's become something that's central to what we do. But as they gentrify our neighborhoods, as they kick us out, the first thing they do is whitewash the murals, because I don't know, it's to help their guilty conscience, or what's going on. but we see it time and time again. Can you speak a little bit to like how they're trying to whitewash Boyle Heights as they gentrify it?
Well, there's two coins to that. To that, it's one is like the artists cause gentrification, right? You've heard that, right? Like we cause it because we're the ones that go into uncharted territories. We beautify it with the art, and then they want that real estate, right? So then they come in, and I've thought about that. I thought, am I part of that? Have I, been a contributor to that? But again, I actually retract for them and said no, because I am from this. I'm native, so where else am I gonna fucking go? So then we beautify it, right? The artists, we paint it, we have these murals, and you have people that come through the neighborhood and they see prime real estate because it's beautified by the artists. The artists do. We've done that, and we've done what the First Street East Side, like Renaissance. You've seen that, right? With Casa One, with myself having the gallery there, First Street Studios, and then all the other Corazón del Pueblo and the other organizations that popped up after that, all around the same time, kind of. And then you have the whole deal with the gentrifiers coming in, buying real estate, or wanting to come and cross the bridge and do these tours because they see it as prime location, right? And definitely we've had an issue with that. And during that time, I was meeting with other artists before that issue came about with the mural ordinance. I don't know if you heard about that. The mural ordinance of LA that meant we weren't able to paint walls legally, right? There was a moratorium. We couldn't paint walls. But I myself and a lot of the Chicano artists got together and we organized and we created United Public Painters and Artists, UPA. And it was on the whim. I went to City Hall, and I think there's a newspaper article with me in the wings in the LA Times, because I went in all like, okay, and I guess I have to catch attention, let them know this shit's serious, right? Nobody was there. So I went, and then we just made up a name. We had nobody. It was just me and Raul chose, okay, what's the name? What we're going to put in? Okay, what were this organization? United Public Painters and Artists. We just made it up right there on the spot. Then we got together, and I'm talking like well-known artists in the community. It was a historical gathering, and a lot of them had old beefs, and I'm not going to go into it, but that's how we do. So they squashed it, and a lot of them, even like a handful of them, were like, we're really sorry that we didn't set precedents for you, for the younger generation of artists, so that we wouldn't have to go through this. So we also had to go through some obstacles with the city recently. And what was about, oh wow, it was probably like about 8 years ago, maybe a little bit less. And 26, no, it was actually a little bit, it was 2014, around that time. And they sincerely even apologized, say, we didn't know either. We were just painting. We wanted to say something, and that kind of affected us too, because with those laws, those city laws, putting a moratorium, we couldn't paint, but we were still painting, right? Because that's how we do. And a lot of those murals we had to fight because they were being whitewashed. So the whitewashing, we already knew the political, what was happening politically behind that was they were along with a lot of other council members, some of them that said they were pro art, but at the same time they were bringing in real estate development, right? And they were like fixing downtown LA, and they were doing this stuff. And we were also discussing who's getting the contracts. Are they outs? Are they part of the community? Are they native Angelino artists? Who are they? So they were contracting artists that were coming from other places, or what we call the implants, right? And so that was all happening at the same time here in LA. I don't know if you remember that time period, right? Maybe about a little bit, about maybe 5 years ago, something like that, like 2015, 2014, 2015. It was just like all of a sudden LA was on steroids. You know what I mean?
Well, it seemed like with Garcetti.
Yes. So it was just like, and actually it was also a little bit before Garcetti went, which was what's his name?
Zaragoza?
Villarregosa, ese. And so it was like almost right before we was leaving, we're still dealing with him. And then once he handed the baton, you know, that transition, there was still deals going on, and then it was like LA on steroids, downtown LA with Weezer, because he comes from an urban planning background, right? And it was all like sort of like just kind of roll balling, and so a lot of us artists were like trying to figure it out, like where can we get some money so we could like make some art and get paid for our art, and then also at the same time to survive, right? So some of us took side gigs or distance gigs, and not always getting paid well, not at the rate that we should be, like everyone else, or like others were getting paid that were actually not even from LA, or they were getting the jobs that we wanted to get, right, or that we were bidding on. So definitely gentrification. Art has many, say has many vehicles. I could say vehicles. It served as if it didn't do too good in the scheme of things, but in relationship or to real estate, right? Because it beautified it, and in their eyes it was beautiful. And once they get in, they don't like that piece of art because it's too cultural, like you said. Oh, it's too cultural, it has too vibrant. And then they report it because the law says if the image bothers you or there's something that you don't like, you could report it. So once you report it, you could whitewash it, or people are just straight up were whitewashing. So, and then you had other artists that like were more witty. They know the laws a little bit more than a lot of us. Are like Willie Heron, the one on the corner of Cesar Chavez, the one that you see boarded up, says don't touch it, $40,000, whatever, is because Willie, went in a lawsuit with the city because they just whitewashed it. And then you have the ones in Highland Park being whitewashed. And Highland Park is, oh my God, it was like, this is not how it used to be. Echo Park is not how it used to be, it's really sad that a lot of the murals are actually gone, and they were just whitewashed, and that was before we were able to grandfather the murals in. So once the moratorium was lifted and we came to agreements as artists, we created committees and went out with the city. We're going back and forth in dialogues and meetings, and then we came to agreement to lift up the moratorium. We needed to grandfather in some murals. And so a lot of murals didn't make it in because they disappeared, or forgotten. And then some were like trying to like revitalize and make them come back. And some have been, like recently Paula Lopez just redid the one at the Southwest Museum, right? So not the Southwest. Is it Southwest? Yes, it's out with the one in Highland Park, the museum right there. So she did a big wall. So and also Willie redid the ones in the freeway. Frank Romero's he did a restoration, right? So this is actually happening. What, like 10 years later, but we have to fight for that money to get those resources. So that's, I think, did I answer the question? Yeah.
So. No, I mean, yes, and then you took it in some other interesting directions. That was a really good, for a lot of people who don't know. I mean, that now they know. I want to get back to your own work though. Can you tell us a little bit of what is meant by Nahuatl cosmology, aesthetic experimentation?
Well, if you see my work, a lot of my work has Nahuatl iconography or in symbols, and so I base a lot of my work on symbols from our ancestors to tell our modern day story. Like sometimes you'll see like I do a lot of downtown LA buildings juxtaposed with actual like Nahuatl symbols. Like, and what does that mean for me? Okay, so for me it means that I am here. I am here no matter how many buildings you build, no matter how many skyscrapers you have, our spirit is here. Our ancestors are here. We're still here, part of the land. So that's really my approach towards using Nahuatl cosmology and stencil making in my art. I can't hear you. I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
No, I get a real bad when we're talking at the same time, so I gotta keep doing that back and forth. No, that's definitely true. So can you, I saw this video of you. You're standing in front of like this. I don't know what to call it, like a phone box or something like that. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, that was one of the times that we were actually starting to beautify and do the Renaissance on First Street. And so I I painted a box. I painted the utility box, and I think that's one of the very first utility boxes in LA that got painted. Then after that, it took off everywhere, and everybody wants to do everybody's doing the utility boxes, which I think is great. But we were one of the first ones to actually do that project with Chose and Lucas and other artists as well. Sonji also was a part of it. Sender was a part of it. Carlos, I don't know. It was about 10 artists that all did it on First Street in Ball Heights. And so I was basically in front of the box. It's on YouTube. You can see it. And so I really was, I was painting bike culture, because I was into biking a lot and reading, and family. And again, juxtaposing now about cosmology and the symbols that I used in the box as well.
So when the city offers grants to paint utility boxes, do you expect you'll be in the running?
No, I'm not. I don't want to paint boxes anymore. I just did it that one time because it was a project that my friend offered, and I think it was great. And it was actually pretty. It was good pay. Could have been a little bit better, but now they want to even pay less. Yeah. They want to pay the artist. I'm going to tell you, $300 to paint a box. It doesn't take a day. It takes like a week or so to and plus the design and the supply. It's $300, and so I'm like, no, that's cool. I'm good, thanks.
Well, I was just kind of making a little joke about how much, oftentimes we start these things and then we're excluded. The fact that you can describe there being this muralist contest and they can't find one single person of Mexican descent, Chicana, in the city of Los Angeles that is worthy of such a thing. That's intentional. We make up 40%. We make up like 50% of the city. First of all, second of all, we have the richest history of muralism in the city amongst all the basic ethnic groups. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is. It's that's an inequity for sure. It's unfair, and that's what institutionalized art institutions, that's how they run their game. This is who you know. You happen to know someone, you might just get in. And if you don't, it's, I don't know what to tell you, Matt. I've been trying to figure this shit out for a long time. I stopped, so I just paint for my community. That's it.
So can you tell us a little bit about your work with Mujeres de Maíz?
Oh, okay. So Mujeres de Maíz, I actually was one of the very first co-founders in 1997. A group was started over 20 years ago. Oh my God, 23 years ago, right? And so my role was really playing all kinds of roles within the organization. Was I did performance. By the way, Matt, I used to do poetry. I had a poetry band, I did the performance art. I did all that. And I still do sometimes. I'll dabble and stuff. But I did that. And it was a way for us to have a platform for women of color. And we created our own little zine, which was made with I have it right here, with the black and white, paper. Hold on. Right here. Here it is. Our first, with staple, 1997. Look at that. Do you see it? It was just it was made with a copier machine. With the copier machine, Mujeres de Maíz, can you see it? And then this is our little manifesto of resistance. And we were this is our magazine with poetry, photography. It was actually, this is why I was so I really was, and still passionate about being a part of the collective to give a platform for women of color like myself, especially a lot of Chicanas, so they could express themselves through poetry, dance, art, music, and all that good stuff. So this is kind of just giving you a little insight of Zapatista, the different movements that we were supporting as individuals and as a group. And this is wow. I'm reading it wow. Yeah, so here it is. Yeah, so this was our first little zine in 1997, made out of copy machine and stapler. But yeah, part of it is definitely creating that zine, and also helping with choosing the poetry. I helped with organizing, getting performers, doing art installations, curating the art shows. I played different roles throughout the years, and throughout the years, I also took breaks. Like, and a lot of the core members, we did that too. Kind of try to pass the baton to younger chicanitas so they could take over and like learn the organizing process for the live show and the zine creation. So that's kind of like how I went. And some people have came and went, and sometimes some people need to move on for whatever reason, and that's okay too. And we're still in sisterhood and in solidarity. So yeah, that's been my position. What is it, Mice?
Can you read a little bit from the manifesto?
Oh, okay. A little manifesto. Okay. I didn't even know what it is. Oh my God. I haven't read this in years. Cool. Okay, I'm going to read it. Awesome. Okay. Mujeres de maíz. Oh, women of the corn. Just kidding. I'm just joking. I'm not going to read it. I like to fuck around. I'm just a joker. But anyway. Okay. Mujeres de maíz, or women of the corn, brings you this issue of their creative work. The zine and accompanying night of performance on Sunday, November 9th, are dedicated to those women who gave their lives to the movement and planted seeds of resistance. We, Mujeres de Maíz, are a collective of female artists who choose to express our joy and pain through a varied creative mediums such as poetry, visual art, dance, music, theater, and film. We set no limitations on ourselves or our creativity. Our collective is an open space for women to come and go as they please, always knowing they are a part of a circle, a continuous cycle of creativity. Through our regular gatherings, whether they become planning meetings or talking circles, we have developed a strong collective dedicated to the empowerment of all women of color. Although the collective began predominantly as Chicana Latina, through word of mouth and reputation, the collective has become more diverse. We respect and actively encourage the participation of the peoples of all four directions, red, yellow, black, and white. We see both the need and power of sisterhood across lines of race, class, and sexuality, and have actively encouraged this bond. During our development, our different backgrounds led us to discuss a possible name change, since the name in Spanish, not everyone knows Mujeres de Maíz. There were suggestions, but none were packed with such meaning and heart as Mujeres de Maíz, or Women of the Corn, which recognizes the women's connection to Mother Earth. Corn also comes in various colors and shapes. We believe that this name also has a history, as it was a name of a performance group in the 1970s and is also tied with the Zapatista revolution. Our goal of creating an event and zine every 4 months gave us a date of late October. We decided it was then fitting to give this event at the Day of the Dead, or Dia de los Muertos theme, and honor those women who gave or are giving their lives to the movement, and to those simply struggling to survive. This is a day focused on the spirit of women. So with the zine, we celebrate the growth of our collective and our consciousness. Thank you to all those who have supported us and or given us material from which to create. The zine is dedicated to all the sisters who gave their lives to the struggle for a better world. Thank you for the inspiration. We will continue the struggle. I read it all. I couldn't read it halfway. I just told you about it, but yeah. No, we had another one that had but anyway, yeah, that's great. That's good enough. That was cool.
Yeah. Here, well, part of what we're doing is trying to get the oral histories and the backgrounds of these things that are ongoing, and some things that are no longer going at full strength as they once were. You mentioned a couple times about the First Street Renaissance. So can you talk a little bit about? I want to ask you about Casa, and I want to ask you about Corazon, but let's start with Corazon. Can you tell us a little bit about Corazon de Pueblo and your interaction with it? I mean, we had the opportunity to talk to Ileana Carter as well as Sammy Carrera, so we got some background on that. But I'm curious to how you enter into it.
Well, how I did was because I was their neighbor at First Street Studios, where I actually opened up a space in 2006. which was right across the street. You see where the Germ's mural is at. There was another mural there before. It's First Street Studios. I had just graduated from UCLA from World Arts and Cultural Studies, and I was deciding, am I going to get a JOB or am I going to create my own JOB? And so I decided I'm going to create my own job, and I got the space, and I got some loans that I just barely paid off, and then I maxed my credit cards to go to a little small business loan back then. And I also ended up getting work after that, but I really put time and effort into creating an art and cultural space. And that was when I started my place right there, right across LMB's, and right next door to Corazón del Pueblo and Little Casa 101. Casa 101 was there first, then I came, and then Corazón del Pueblo came because that space got empty, and then they came in. I didn't know them. I didn't know Ileana. I didn't know Sochi. I didn't know Freddie. I didn't know them. I actually met them because they became my neighbors. And so I think I went across the street and introduced myself, who I was, and then so did Josefina, look, check these cats out, blah, blah, blah. So we're all kind of like just making community, it was naturally and organic. That's how I met them. And then when they would have, say, Josefina would have a show, that was before Corazon came, say she would have a little theater show in her little theater across the street, Little Casa, she would be like, okay, can you host some of the guests there before we open up, so they're not just standing outside? So we used to do a little come and check out the art at my studio, or we used to do the after parties after the theater shows at my place. So we kind of convivimos, una convivencia, like supporting each other in our events, right? And I hadn't really opened. I was just brand new there, right? And for me, it's more of opening up my doors and getting to know everybody. And then, of course, Corazón del Pueblo came, and just doing the same thing, like making sure that I'm not overlapping my events with theirs, and making sure that I'm supporting them, and vice versa, like, oh, check out her art space, or check out their, so we were doing that kind of thing. Supporting each other in that way. And that's how I met them. And then once I closed down, because I got gentrified out of there, I still was in contact with, of course, with Corazon, because they were there. And so they were doing a lot of grassroots organizing. And what I ended up doing was just helping out as best I could, And so when they were threatened to be closed, I helped with the fundraising. I helped to do the Brigade Artisan Marketplace, helped to raise funds, one day, and then just donated money, my time, to help them just sustain themselves. More like not directly involved per se, but as a supporter, I wasn't an organizer there, but a supporter in anything they did, because they're younger, I'm not saying I'm super old, but like I was just being a supporter, friend, advisor, whatever, Hold on. This thing fell. So that's how I know them, and got to meet them individually.
And your art was there oftentimes, so it wasn't, your artwork was in.
And whenever they had shows or whatever, I would put it. I would do it, just from Mujeres de Juarez, or whatever shows they were curating. They asked me for something, I did it, or if I had the resources, I gave it to them, that kind of thing. So I mean, I support them, and I saw a lot of them are like 10 years my younger, like your 30s, like your guys' age. I'm already in my late 40s. I'm going to be 50 already. So I really wanted to support that, I want to support their endeavors and any way that I could. And that's how I did it.
Can you tell us a little bit about Casa?
And yeah, Casa One, I think also the same. Josefina Lopez was really open to also supporting me, because she did it before I did. She was the first one with the Little Casa One. She was the only one right there. And then I came. So she supported me. The same thing how I supported Corazon, and she supported Corazon too. She helped him out too. So Josefina was really pivotal in supporting both our spaces. So Josefina has a good trajectory with me, like She does her own thing, and I support her. And we may not always agree, but that's okay too. We have different ways that we work. You know what I mean? And ultimately, our vision is to help our community.
Yeah, I think what you just said kind of sums up a lot about the work you do and who you are in the community. Like Lily, we may not always agree. Ramirez, we may not always agree, but we're here to support. Is definitely some really, yeah, that's really that really puts that in a concise kind of way. Okay, go on.
When I did the occupation, when I was part of the occupation in 1995 of the Peace and Justice Center, that was where my school of learning became, and that's always been like the foundation of who I am. I create community art and culture spaces that I want them to be neutral spaces where, regardless of what your beliefs are, how you organize, who you're affiliated with, that there could be a space that you could come and find some commonality. That's really been my my mission as an artivist, and also providing and holding space for people, and also my worldview, my political views are very radical. They may not seem to some people because I may not be into communism. I may not be into the ideology of socialism per se, but I like a little bit of everything. Just like my altar, my sacred altar, I have a little bit of everything, and I put it in, and I make it mine, and that's okay too. Everyone has their own point of view, and I think my commonality with all of that is humanism and humanity, right? And finding that core value that we all have, and that's pretty much the framework where I come from.
Yeah, I think something kind of happens within the prominence and the explosion of the use of social media, that in terms of like when people come together to do things, they have to like agree on like 180 points of agreement or something like that, or nothing can get done. And I'm not sure when that started or how that started, but I don't think that's wise, because you do see there's a lot less getting done.
I don't think it's gonna happen. Unfortunately, it's like sometimes I just want to fucking give up the towel, and I just want to fuck this shit. I just like want to give up the towel. Like, and I really have felt that many times throughout my lifetime. Being involved and being part of different communities, different groups, and supporting different groups and individuals. I want to give up the towels many times, and that's why I went into painting art and doing it by myself, because we couldn't get shit done, even if it was just one collective, or even if it was just one organization. It had his shit, everyone, and anything, there's always something bad, like there's always that one person or whatever, like or everyone has flaws. We're human, shit, we're not perfect, and so I decided, well, how am I going to organize, how am I going to help and contribute, to the betterment of humanity? So how I contribute is through my art. And so I figured I could just do it by myself. I don't fucking need nobody. And if anything goes wrong, you can fucking talk shit to me. I don't care. You know what I mean? So that's really where I'm coming from. And it is really hard to work with people and in groups and to come to agreements. And I've been a part of that. Meetings after meetings, and it's just, damn, I'm tired of meetings. I don't want to be in a fucking meeting. I want to do some shit. Okay. So that's really where I'm at, and I understand you big time.
Yeah,
I can hear you.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's why oftentimes I do things solo. But I think if we just like come into like idea, I think we come into collectives like clear ideas that like this is about if we like focus on the project and not necessarily on each other, I think we can get a lot more done.
Yeah, but that's when personalities happen and like little dramas, and you're like, fuck this, and it's just out of control sometimes. And so, God, we've seen this since the 60s, man. We've seen this, we've known this, and how do we like resolve this? And is can it really happen? You know, that's like, wow, it's so sad. Even with the current times, the shit that's happening right now, the misinformation and this whole COVID and the different perspectives, the right wing nationalist fucking propaganda coverted the actual information, sensationalizing it to make it their own. You know, all that stuff. It's just a mess. It's a fucking mess, and it gets people confused. And I don't even know the answer, Matt. To tell you the truth, I don't fucking know.
I just, the politicization of drama and chisme, and like treating that like it's like this, treating like that like it's more important than the project. I think is like what's preventing projects from happening.
Yeah, yeah, that too. That too. If we could, I mean, we're going to really have to fucking squash our shit eventually, because we're up against. We've known this pre-COVID. Inequity has happened pre-COVID. Fuck that. Since 500 years, we've been struggling, because people are like, "Oh, this is our freedoms." No, fuck you. We haven't had no freedoms before this shit. Remember the Patriot Act in 9/11? Are you with us or against us? I'm hearing that rhetoric with the whole COVID shit. Okay, so I'm like, no. Let's get it straight. We have been oppressed for a very long time. You may think that you have been free, but you really weren't, and we're not. And when we could pretend to be free, but we live in an imperialist capitalist society. And that's the truth. And we know where that fucking goes. We know where that rabbit hole leads. And we know that there is a corrupt system. You don't need to tell us what your conspiracy theory they just learned on YouTube by some kind of influencer, like, that's telling you that. You know what I mean? Some bullshit. You know, it's like, come on, dude. Like that dude barely found out about what's happening in the last 3 years. Get some credible information, you know? Besides that, and then you have confusion, right? And you have all this stuff happening, and we have to learn to decipher it. And we're going to have to get to a point that we're going to have to not pick sides, and I say you're with us against it, but really choose our battles and really know when we should be in the front lines and really do some shit, you know, because it's going to get there. We're going to have to, for our own survival, because we have been already, a lot of us grassroots organizers, people that know, have been doing the work. So those kinds of rhetoric that they're spewing out and targeting people of color to go into their own conversation, into their own sensationalism and their own fear, could be very dangerous. Could be very dangerous, and could very undermine the movements and the work that many grassroots organizers have already been working towards. That makes sense? Yeah. So it's we're gonna have to step it up. We're gonna have to. When I was a little chavalito trying to fucking, I said, look, little fucker, little fucker. when you actually read one motherfucking book, one good book, talk to me. At least do that to start. Word of advice. So we can do that. Read one fucking book, a complete book, at least over 200 pages. At least, and actually do some community work so you could get your hands on and actually be an actual activist and not an online activist, right? And talk to me, and we could do some work, you know. We could do some work, and I'm with you. I'll support you, you know. If you're talking about organizing an actual resistance, you start with your neighborhood, you know. That's how people organize. You don't go and start joining all these other white militia. Oh, we're from my people. No. So this is where the confusion comes. So yeah, lately I just, you know, I have to plug in and out. You know, I have to like, okay, I gotta center myself because this is too much. This is too much. Sage, let me sage myself. You know, gotta sing a song, gotta sage myself, gotta do some yoga. You know, do some deep breathing, take a fucking long ass nap. You know. And then come back and re-energize and do my own art, unplug, you know, listen to some music, read, and then come back and see what the fuckery is happening now. What the fuckery? It's a bunch of fuckery.
Well, speaking of your work and what you're up to, can you tell us a little bit about how can we connect you in this time? Because I know you're still like leading workshops and stuff, or you're still selling your art. So how do we connect to all that?
I'm doing through my Instagram, my Facebook. Also, I have a website, is liliflorart.com. I have a little buying little clip. I just bought the shopping cart, which I haven't set up, but there's a couple little shopping cart stuff. If you come and pick up my art from my studio, of course, I'm going to give you a $5 discount. It's 25 for prints in mailed and $20 for pickups. You'll see that on my website, so you could do that. You could buy it there. For my art workshops, I'm working towards, because this whole COVID thing is really making me think of how I want to really go about or changing or transforming my approach towards art. So I did the murals, I did my art, I did art shows. Do I want to still be fucking doing that? Do I really want to be applying for grants and competing in la chingada? Maybe not. So I'm right now at this transitional point where I also do traditional ceremony. I know you're an atheist. I think you're an atheist, but I do native. I'm not sure, but I do native ceremony, and within I want to, and I'm working on. I don't want to, and I have been working on integrating Nawa cosmology within art making, so that I could teach others how to make it. Like, for example, one of the workshops I'm going to offer is how to make your own symbol of life, like how to create like a logo. It's not a logo, but it's a symbol of life, and how you can use that symbol of life to help you, or where can you hang it on your wall, put it on a t-shirt, that kind of thing. So I'm working towards that. I also have another one called Knowing Your Heart. And this is like with two people, okay, mother, father, mother, daughter, it could be a couple, whoever. It's just two people have to do this together. And it's knowing your heart, and it's getting to know each other in art making and paper mache making. So that's another one. And these are examples, like not vision boarding, but profile, doing a self-portrait using vision boarding and color therapy or color energy, and using indigenous modalities to be able to read that, so that you're able to use the energy of color as a vibrational tool in your own life. So it's more like, it could be scientific if you want, you could call it spiritual, whatever you want to do. So that's really where I'm at, working to offer these classes, these workshops.
Well, we dropped the link below. As far as me, I mean, the universe is far too large for me not to have questions, and people far too limit me for me to believe everything they say. So it's kind of anyway, if you're curious.
Everything, right? For me, it's like, look, my foundation, I have a foundation. Mm-hmm. My foundation is my ancestors' knowledge, right? It's the Tolteca way, the Mexica Nahuatl way, and the northern native way of the Americas, from the north to the south. And everything else on top is sprinkles of everything. And I like a little bit of everything. And then everything, hay algo malo, everything, nothing's perfect, So you just make it your own. And that's where I'm at. And that's what I'm sharing.
So you mentioned throughout that you also write poetry, right? And I feel like you're dropping some hints to me or something like that. Do you want to share?
No.
Do you want to share a poem?
I don't
no. Oh, look what I got right here.
My poetry book. Where did I put it? Hold on, let me get my glasses. I'm not dropping a hint. I think I might even have one in here. One of these books.
Oh, I might have one right here.
Wait a minute, I have it right here. Maybe I might have wrote one in here. I don't even remember. It's such a long time. This is like, I think they did put one of mine in there, but I'm not sure, because I was in different books. So I don't remember. Oh, Lisa Rocha's in here. I'm just looking at. Let me see if they put one of mine in this one. But I do have poetry books. Oh, okay, where do I have? I didn't drop a hint, but I'm gonna drop one right now if you're saying. Okay, where is it? Okay, no, I don't have one in here. Okay. Let me see. Bateritas de vinil. Where is it? I'm trying to find one. You know what? I don't have my poetry books on me here. Did I put one in here? This is my travel book. I might have thrown one in here. But I used to write everywhere, little fucking books and notes. This is when I traveled to Peru. I backpacked through Mexico and Peru for about a month and 4 months. It's fucking awesome. I recommend it. Oh, here. Oh, what I am going to show you is this. Look at. That's me. The occupation. Can you read it?
Oh,
No.
that's great.
This is one. Oh, this is like fuck. What's in there? 1995. Wow. It's 187. Remember that?
That's it.
Shh. Shh. Long time. Let me see if I have one here. Let me see. Let's get another. This is my sketchbook. What do I have to be written in there? One like this. Let me read. This is my sketchbook. Little sketch. I have little books everywhere. I have little books everywhere. Actually, my poetry books are in another box. I haven't unpacked them. I don't have them with me. So next time. I don't have them with me.
All right, all right. Well, you know,
I don't
like,
know my memory, dude. I haven't done it in such a long time.
if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready.
I know. I suck. I know.
Well, thank you so much, Liliflor. This has been a really great hour. Really appreciate it. We got the link below. It's your website. Is there anything else you want people to know in terms of how they can support your art, how they can support each other, anything, any closing words?
Well, I'd like to say thank you so much for putting me in your impromptu dialogues of the COVID-19 Rona series. That's been fun. Thank you so much for getting me on and sharing the information. And thank you to everyone who's listened to us and tuned in with Matt as well throughout this whole quarantine lockdown. I just want to say, stay safe. Follow your heart. Follow your heart and get information from all sides. Dig deep. Dig very deep and sit with your feelings. I think sitting with our feelings and not running with our emotions is a good way to help us to think more clear and think more critically, to make more wise choices that will benefit yourself and others, including your family and your community and the larger global community. And that's really what we have to do, because we can't stay silent anymore. We can't stay silent no matter what you do, whether you're an artist or whether you're not an artist, wherever you are, whatever walk of life you walk on this earth, is your voice is also important. All of our voices are important. So speak loud and louder than ever.
So we have a comment from the comment section that says, "Thank you so much, Liliflor. Love you right there."
Oh, thank you, Karen. We have one person. Woo! It's all good.
We're gonna share. We're gonna cycle it through.
It's all good. It's all good. Thank you, Karen, for tuning in. I appreciate you.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Liliflor. It's been great.
Cool. It's been great with you too. It's been my pleasure. Okay. And if you ever need anything, of course, hit me up.
I'll let you know.
All right. Sounds good. Take care.